Welcome, everyone, to episode 69 of the Standing 8 podcast, recording live on this Sunday afternoon, July 18th, 2021. I'm Aaron Soria from Los Angeles. Joining me are the usual dangerous panelists, Courtney Tanner and Tommy Rush Jr. Gentlemen, it's been a while. Episode 68 with Sean Cameron was roughly 3 weeks ago. A lot has transpired since then, so we got our plates full today. As we all know, Courtney is an active member of the U.S. Army who just returned stateside.
Air Force.
Air Force. Sorry.
Don't do me like that, bro.
I'm a civilian. I'm so civilianed out, man. I'm very sorry. Active member of the Air Force who just returned stateside. Welcome back, Courtney. First off, how does it feel to be back home, man?
Hey, it feels amazing, man. Last broadcast we did, I said like the main thing I was looking forward to in being back was that I didn't have to stay. I don't have to stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to watch these cards. So that's been amazing to get back on a normal sleep cycle and just be able to enjoy boxing more like in real time, in a way that aligns with the weekends, with the just enjoyment of boxing, man, and just being able to chop it up with people on the threads and be able to be involved in this broadcast real time without having to wake up out of my sleep, man. I just finished a Savage Sunday meal, so there's no better way to digest it, man, than to chop it up with y'all, man, and engage in this war of words per se. But hey, I'd like to thank everybody for their support, man. And it's just great and a blessing to be back.
Definitely a blessing, and it's reiterating what you just said. Blessing for you to be on with us, Courtney, as usual. Also, Tommy Rush Jr. also ready for episode 69. He's also the founder of BSHQ Barbecue, based out of Dallas, Texas. If you're interested in barbecue catering or delivery, you can contact him at 801-360-2214 to set up an order. They're also on Instagram. Handle is BSHQ BBQ. His information is on the bottom left of the screen. But Tommy, how you been, man? Any opening thoughts on episode 69?
Man, so first off, welcome back, Courtney. Absolutely great to have you back, bro. You know how we do it. Hey, you know how we do it, bro. You know how we rock. So thank you for everything that you are currently doing and continue to do, serving this great country. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about, man. So I'm like Courtney said, these war words, I'm interested and ready to get into them because, I mean, we all know there's a lot to talk about, but there's a lot that's been talked about the last 24 hours. So let's get right into it, man. Let's do it.
Yep, definitely. So yeah, a lot to talk about, especially, last night's junior middleweight unification between Jermell Charlo and the Argentine Brian Castano, which took place at the AT&T Center in San Antonio. Jermell, holder of the 3 of the 4 titles on the line, came off from knockout wins against Tony Harrison in the rematch and Jason Rosario. As for Castano, he earned his spot winning the WBO title from Patrick Teixeira by unanimous decision on a DAZN broadcast last February. This unification match was held in very high regard for its aim at crowning the 154 division's first undisputed champion. However, the fight for undisputed would conclude with a split decision draw, stained by a very disputed scorecard. But before we talk about scorecards, let's share our thoughts on the fight itself. Me personally, I had it a draw, which contradicted my prediction for a TKO for Jermell. From the opening round up to the 9th, I felt Castano stuck to his game plan more consistently than Jermell, with his controlled volume, punching, cutting off the ring. As with Jermell, he started his script a tad bit late, not being loyal to that jab as Derek James wanted him to be. However, those times when Jermell did follow the script, he was able to offset Castano's aggression with timely combos and precise counters. Entering the 10th round, that was a pivotal round in favor of Jermell Charlo. At that time, I had Castano winning on my scorecard 63. Fortunately for Jermell, he sealed the last 3 rounds, especially again in that 10th round where he hurt him, where he hurt him really bad, short of a possible knockdown, and also succession sealed 11 and 12, which he fought his way back to a draw on my end. So that's my initial assessment. But let me go to Courtney. Share us your thoughts on that fight. Go ahead, Courtney.
It was a great fight, man. As I said last night, I think San Antonio almost lived up to its reputation again of being the derail your hype train capital of the fight game last night. Like for its spots, man, it looked like Castano was getting his Maidana on and dropping dimes on Charlo like he was Mano Ginobili, man, out there in the ATT Center in San Antonio, the lovely city of San Antonio, which is near and dear to my heart because that's where I did basic training at. Yeah, man, great fight, all action. I'm not mad at the draw, man. Initially, I thought that Castano clearly won it. I kind of had to back off that emotion a little bit and give it another rewatch. And I'm not mad at the draw, man. But the thing is, yeah, like you said later, we're gonna get into scorecards. But yeah, that was just a disappointing that a fight that exciting and that turbulent and that riveting, man, was reduced to so much controversy after, where that's the talk of the town per se, and not just the great performance that was turned in by Castano and Charlo, man. That was a great. That was Charlo was off. He was off his kilt a little bit. I think that fight was way harder than he envisioned it. Certainly, a lot of people I predicted that Charlo would win a clear and unanimous decision at the onset. But for Charlo to find himself in those deep waters and come back and nearly knock Castano out, and he had him dead to rights in a lot of places. I think that speaks volumes of Charlo's resilience and his tenacity and his punching power in the ring. So I mean, hats off to him too. But as I was saying before the broadcast to Aaron, though, a couple of years ago, I had said kind of boldly, in the pound for pound group, and a lot of people are like, yeah. I said it that Castano was going to be the dark horse of the 154 pound division, and I kind of quieted down on that because Castano was looking good against a lot of European level competition overseas, and then when he came here to the States, he's promoted by Lykowitz, or whatever the promoter out of Argentina who does a lot of business with PBC and Al Heyman. But when he got on the U.S. cards and we started seeing him a little more on Showtime and on DAZN against Teixeira, it kind of looked like he had stagnated a little bit from basically bullying a lower level of competition and then being in against better guys. But I mean, I think he surprised a lot of people, taking Iroslani Lara life and death. He looked solid against Teixeira to win the WBO title. So, I mean, even though I predicted a decision for Charlo, the way the fight panned out and the way it happened, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't thrown off by that. I knew he was going to be a tough out for Charlo. I didn't envision he'd be that tough. And I certainly didn't envision that we'd have that great a quality of fight. That's one of the things about boxing and being wrong. Sometimes it's been, you can be pleasantly surprised and shocked and happy at being wrong. And I certainly was last night.
Just to follow up on that comment, was it out of the realm in your mind that Charlo could have won a very close decision if that 117-111 scorecard was a less disputable scorecard? how would have, in that alternate reality, would have that, could you have foreseen that too? And
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a split decision that went Charlo's way, or either, you know what I'm saying, if it was a split decision that went either guy's way, I think most of the mainstream, if it had been a close decision that went Castano's way, I think the majority of people, the majority of mainstream casual fans would have been like, yeah, that was the right guy won. I think there would have been a few people who would even been said that the scorecards need to be wider in favor of Castano. But I mean, if it gone Charlo's way on a close decision, that's one of those things where you might not see it that way or might not agree with it, but you can't be mad at it because of the work that Charlo was putting in and the way he closed that fight. It was kind of, there weren't real, I didn't really see it in terms of swing rounds. I saw it a lot in terms of rounds that went back and forth. There would be rounds where, Castano was doing work and just, just baffling Charlo. And then there would be rounds where Charlo was just strafing him, and had him dead to rights. And I was saying later in the fight, Castano was clearly hurt. He was, there was times where he looked like he was out on his feet and he was still walking Charlo to the ropes. He was still walking him to the corner. That was kind of a suicidal kamikaze strategy. But I think Castano also had that presence of mind to know that he's, essentially in Charlo's backyard. And, we all know how the judging in Texas goes. But there were no Texas judges on that, for that fight.
Right.
I think there was a judge from Nevada, a judge from Connecticut, a judge from Puerto Rico, and then the referee was Panamanian. So, I mean, the only thing Charlo really had going in that advantage was home court advantage per se, but everything else was neutral. So, can we really put this on Texas fuckery or a Texas two-step? If you look at it objectively, you really can't, because it was neutral and it was in the up and up. But I mean, there's just something about Texas, man, and when it's close, people are just they're gonna lean into that. But I would definitely say there was less controversy in this one than per se maybe the Chocolatito Estrada fight, But even in that one, neither guy is from Texas, so. I mean, I think a lot of people sensationalize or latch onto a notion when they're pretty much looking or digging for something more that's actually there.
Right. Tommy, your thoughts? Give us your take.
Yeah, man. So I thought this was an outstanding fight. In regards to the scorecards, it's funny because I believe it was the judge that was from Puerto Rico that gave the 117-111 scorecard.
Yep.
So when we get to talking about the Texas advantage, that just goes to show like it's really a boxing thing overall, and this type of stuff can and does happen a lot in Texas, but with no Texas ties other than being in Texas for Charlo. It's just another sad sad combination that we got to see there. But I absolutely was not mad at the fact that this was a draw. Could I have saw it being, to Courtney's point, I think that it would have been more widely accepted if it was a split decision for Castano. Or the draw as we saw, which has been pretty accepted amongst the masses. But I think that you can sometimes, you have to watch fights more than one time. Obviously, you have to, and that's what makes the judges job so difficult, because in this type of case, we can sit here and we'll watch this fight 2, 3, 4 times, and we'll have a more clear view on what we saw. But when you're watching the fight for the first time, you can very easily come into it biased, watching one person, watching their actions and watching how they're fighting, more than trying to give those points or that unbiased perspective to the opponent. Which I could see some people that if it did go Charlo's way, I could see it being more people that were watching it expecting Charlo to win, which also I had it Initially, I had voted for a TKO for Charlo. I felt that it would be kind of like what we saw in the 10th round, but he would eventually be able to finish it. But we saw that he couldn't, and Castano was super game the whole entire fight. I do feel that he made his presence and his aggression felt, and that was something that caught Charlo by surprise many times throughout that fight. We saw him get clipped. I think there was one exchange where he clipped him 3 or 4 times. Maybe midway through the fight. We heard Derek James, tell Charlo, you need a knockout. You got to get this dude out of here. Coming into the closing rounds. I also agree that had Charlo stuck to his jab game a little bit more, doubling and tripling that jab, and also dedicating some focus to the body, because I think that was something that he did not do well in the fight.
Yeah.
I think
With
that
that high guard, that body was open season.
yeah, it was right there. He just continued to jab, but he didn't. A lot of those jabs were meeting the guard and not getting through the guard. And he could have taken a lot of advantage of the body work. And maybe had he done that, when he caught Castano and had him troubled in that 10th round, he might have been able to close the show. Then he might have put enough in the bank. But overall, it was a wonderful match of styles. To where anytime that Charlo didn't work on that jab solid and bring those combos right after it, Castano was bringing that pressure. He was bringing those multiple combos. He was punching from all different angles. He was going to the body, and he was able to continuously back Charlo up, almost at will. As Courtney said, even as he was hurt, he was able to do that. So one wonderful fight. We say run it back. Charlo doesn't say run it back. He says talk to Al Heyman. So we kind of know what that means, and that means he does not want that smoke again. He's not really trying to do that. During the fight, I said, it's obviously always chanted Lions only, and Castano said, "Let me in that Lions den right now. Let me get in immediately," and he showed that he's a lion as well. So. I think he kind of pulled Charlo's card a little bit, and he may not want any more of that.
Yeah, and you kind of transition now to the scorecards, which I pulled up just now. So the man in question, Nelson Vazquez, and as Courtney you said, and I agree, no controversy, no backhanded deals, but if it's not that, then it just has to be incompetence. And he has to be held accountable. To what degree he has to be held accountable, we'll have to see. But Courtney, let's get your thoughts on what type of consequence should there be for Nelson, if any.
I mean, obviously that's going to be up to the commission. If he's out of Puerto Rico, he was probably selected by to represent the WBO organization in unification fights. It's usually each sanctioning body gets to pick one of their judges of choice. The WBO was based in San Juan, Puerto Rico, so I'm guessing, I don't know for certain, but I'm just looking at that, I'm guessing that he probably would have been appointed by the WBO. I think it should be up to. I mean, I think it should be on the commission. He should be called in and basically have to, he should have to explain that card. That basically have a committee or some type of committee impaneled to basically look at the fight and just basically round by round break it down. It's like, all right, you scored this round this way. The other judges scored it this way. Where did you have it? What did you see that they didn't see? Basically, just have them in their professional opinion, explain this shit. What fight were you watching? What fight were you seeing? I think that should be, and then whoever is impaneled, they make the decision with the commission or whatever, whether, this guy made an honest mistake, whether, he had a bad night, or this guy just doesn't, on some Roger Mayweather shit, he don't know shit about boxing. And that's the thing I tell people too about judges. Very relatively few, if any, of the judges in these major fights and the major the commissions, the boxing organizations, actually have fight experience. The majority of fight judges, I mean, their backgrounds are either in law enforcement or in the legal field, or on the legal field. There's a few, there's a few in California who are medical doctors, or Lou Moret is a clinical psychiatrist. But I mean, these are people who, judges in boxing are picked from people, or chosen from people who are more analytical thinkers. And I think that's good. I think that's good in a way, but I think judging overall needs to, they need to try to attract some people into judging who have, fight experience, whether they used to fight, whether they were, former trainers, or just people who've been around boxing, and who've been around the mechanics of what these guys do in the ring. It's kind of hard when you're impaneling somebody who is picked from a certain career field or for a certain criteria, and then you're basically said, all right, these are your three criteria: defense, ring generalship, and offense, or whatever. So I just think I think as judges age out and new judges get put on panels and get certified by commissions, I think the criteria of who they look for to judge these fights, I think that needs to be examined further.
I didn't know that the professional backgrounds of these judges are remote from boxing. And as you said, and I definitely agree, there has to be new screening, because I mean, in other fields you have strict requirements that are related to the position at hand, and obviously it shouldn't be any different in boxing. So great point on that, Corny. Tommy, your thoughts on as far as the accountability of the judging question, Nelson Vazquez with that 117-111 card?
Man, as far as accountability, I think until we actually start to see a whole lot more happen with the judges, I really don't have too much of a take on it, because it's like, all right, we know that this is something that runs rampant at this point right now throughout boxing. We've seen it time and time and time and time again. I mean, until we actually see, whether it's some judges get suspended, or get their license revoked to be a judge or something, what are we what are we gonna do? As I'm looking at this card, at the judge's scorecard, the only round that he was off that somebody else agreed with, which was Tim Cheatham, was round 6. Every other round that he went the opposite direction, he was by himself. He was completely by himself, other than round 6. So that makes it very interesting, because I mean, even then it's still 116, 112. And you've got a 114, 113, and a 114, 114. So you're still off by a decent amount. So it's like, I'm interested to go and watch these rounds and try to watch them from this person's perspective, and just try to gain some sort of remote understanding about where were you coming from, and was it a couple of power punches? Was it was it that you didn't credit Castano with some punches landed overvaluing maybe a couple of jabs by Charlo or something? Like, what was it that made you give him these extra rounds, and seemingly like he clearly won the fight? So again, it goes back to kind of what I said initially, is that some people can come into a fight, which it's a shame that a judge could potentially come into a fight like that, like looking and watching for somebody to look good versus another person. You should be completely unbiased if you're going to be judging these bouts.
I mean, in a boxing, there's a lot of boxing is about angles. You know, it's about the aesthetics. People got to realize too is a judge only they only see the fight from one angle or from one perspective.
From one
And
side,
a fight, a fight can look different, and especially when these guys are in close quarters, is a fight can look different when on one side of the ring where maybe the guy who's putting in the better work has their back to you.
Yep.
And they're both throwing punches at the same time. So it might look like one person is pressuring or one person is controlling the ring or whatever. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of variables. And it's crazy because a lot of people bitch about judging, and rightfully so in a lot of instances. But at the same time too is like the aura of boxing kind of comes from the fact that like the eyes that are watching it and judging are human, and they are susceptible to the biases of the human condition, and also its limitations. With this guy Nelson Vazquez, if he is a WBO judge, Castano was the WBO champion. So, I mean, that kind of takes out the corruption angle or piece of it. We could say it's incompetence. We just it's so hard to put a finger on it when we don't know what he was seeing, what he was thinking on that night. And that's why when we have instances like this, I'm a big proponent of public accountability, where these guys explain themselves, to explain what it is they were seeing that was counter to what so many other people were seeing.
Good points. Shout out to Manuel Dominguez, supporter of the show. I'm going to read his quote verbatim, and then I'll let you, Courtney and Tommy, respond to that if you want to add to it. Emmanuel Dominguez, shout out. Great show, guys. Keep it up. Last night's fight lived up to the hype. Unfortunately, the 117-111 card shits on everything. I personally felt Castano was in control majority of the fight, minus the last rounds, especially the 10th. Enough for him to clearly win the fight. I'm hesitant to call it a robbery, though. I feel that term gets thrown out way too much. Some fights are just close and competitive.
Well, first off, Manuel, hey, we appreciate we appreciate the support. We appreciate your viewership, and we really appreciate your your participation in the show, and and sharing your insight and your perspective with us. And I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with you on the where the term robbery gets thrown around a lot, and I think it's entirely overused. And it basically it's just people in any discussion, in any debate, in any difference of opinion will seek to insert their own biases and their own passions about things, and I think that clearly comes to play when people talk about a robbery, or just blatant allegations of corruption in boxing. And some fights are close and competitive. I thought last night's fight was definitely close and competitive. I mean, I really hope they run it back. And I think a lot of people they're in agreement on that. And so I think that's the only way to really rectify the situation, is to have these two do it again.
Great points on that, and thank you, Manuel Dominguez. One more on this topic. As far as we all agree that the rematch should happen immediately, as soon as possible. Tommy, knowing what you've seen so far, processing everything, how do you see the rematch going?
Well, first, shout out to Manny, hop in vivo. But I say, honestly, it all depends on how hard-headed or obedient Charlo's going to be, because to be very transparent and honest, Derek James gave him the plan. He told him exactly what he needed to do. Shout out to Derek James, because he was being real with him the entire time. He may have pushed it a little bit when he told him, "Hey, you got to knock him out." But I mean, that's what a coach does. But he gave him the strategy. It fit Charlo's way of fighting. He just got hard headed and did what he wanted to do out there. So if he is more disciplined to the game plan after getting back down a little bit, if you will, getting met at his level, if you will, because here's one thing that we do know about the Charlos. Period. They are cocky. They're confident,
Yep.
and it's like a bully, and we know that they're like bullies, and the bully got punched in the fucking face, and when a bully gets punched in the face, shit changes, and that's what we saw happen in this fight. We saw him start to get rocked where he actually got hurt in the ring, and that changed the entire way that Charlo fought for like 3 or 4 good rounds. So I could see this fight going very similar to this, and we get a really good war. Or I could see, being that you have a whole nother camp, you get to prepare. You've seen Castano in the ring before. You work extremely well with Derek James. I could see that it could go a whole different way, and he may be able to dominate. So it could go a couple of different ways, but it all depends on what we see in the ring with Charlo and how he answers, because he will have to answer to it again. I don't think that he would just come in and flat out dominate Castano. I think that Castano will still get in on him and still do some decent work. But how he answers that, how he's prepared for it, I think that would make a very, very big difference, because it made a whole world of difference in this fight.
Mm. Yeah, I agree, and it kind of reiterated my earlier point that Charlo, he kind of like implemented Derek James' game plan a tad bit late. So from the opening round in the hopeful rematch, he has to start right away. Courtney, your thoughts? How do you see the rematch playing out?
Tommy says cocky and confident. I look at it as straight up arrogance on the part of the Charlo brothers. That's why they are not my favorite duo in boxing. But I mean, those boys are very talented, very skilled, and they're at a level where they deserve the adulation and obviously the purses that they fight for. When I look at a rematch in a fight like this, I first off, I approach it from the standpoint of both guys are going to go into the rematch having to elevate their game, because the other guy has already collected a lot of data on them. There's no, what I'm saying, when you're going to a rematch, there's no more secrets. It's all out there. So that's why, I mean, a lot of people say it's round 13, in the first round of the rematch or whatnot. But when I look at it from a rematch the standpoint is, I look at who has the more potential to do things better than they did in that first fight. And I think with Charlo, I'm going to give him the edge, because I think there's a lot more room for him to elevate and to do better than it was for Castano. I think Castano, a lot of times you see a guy like Castano come in, the underdog, they give it all they got, they shoot their wad. And it's all out there, it's all seen, and there's really not too much potential for them to be better in that performance. Can Castano make smarter decisions in the rematch? Yeah, but that's easier said than done, because these boxers, they are who they are, and they bring. They bring it's hard habits to break. I think the habits you pick up in boxing are hardest to break. But I think Charlo, if he fights, in the way that he knows that he should have, I think he wins that. I think he wins that fight by late stoppage in a rematch. But I think the big intangible in saying that is his confidence, is that cockiness there to do what he has to do, and know that he's going to have to take a few in order to in order to land devastating shots or shots that are going to hurt Castano. And I think that was a reality that set in on him, and he accepted late in that fight. But I think it was a bridge too far, and he was already substantially fatigued and drained and hurt himself by the shots that Castano was landing on him. So I think his potential to do what he had to do was degraded. I think in a rematch, it's all about Charlo just deciding what he has to do off top and execute that game plan. And I think he's fully capable of that. And if he does that, I think he gets Castano out of there.
Hey, I do want to say shout out to Manny Dominguez and Anthony Stacks-Adunya. Two of the only people that I saw pre-fight, say that, hey, this fight may not go the way that everybody think it's gonna go. Which regardless of if we felt that it was gonna go the distance or it was gonna be some sort of a knockout, wasn't that many people out there that was actually willing to kind of put it on wax and say that it may actually go this other way. And so, yeah, I mean, shout out to them, and also shout out to Courtney for calling it long Steph Curry range with the dark horse. You know what I'm saying? He called that from the half court.
But I'll say this about Anthony Saldana, man. Sometimes, and we all know Anthony Saldana is passionate. You know what I'm saying? He's going to say what the fuck he means. And sometimes Anthony Saldana on social media comes off as homerish. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, sometimes when Saldana calls these, he's outside the pan on it, I'm just like, all right, dude. And then he fucking surprises you, and it's just like, yo, like he sees things.
Yeah.
So, hey, yeah, indeed. Shout out to Anthony Saldana, a man whose life is, his life, his love, his passion is boxing.
Yes, sir.
You can't live it on the streets. You can't be around it as much as an Anthony Saldana is and not know what the fuck you're talking about, man. And
no lie, no cap.
So, I mean, hey, the bombast, the rhetoric, you might think it, you might see it one way, but hey, there's knowing, there's knowledge behind that. So, hey, definitely game recognized game, Anthony.
Shout out to Anthony Saldana, a big supporter of our program. Definitely we'll get him on many, many times in the future. But yeah, pivoting off on the same card, there was and one of the undercards I want to bring up. Let me put this up here. Rolly Romero. He was on the card after the fight, 14-0, 12 knockouts now, because of his 7th round technical knockout of last minute replacement. Anthony Yigit, you dig it? I guess that's his nickname.
Since
Yigit missed weight by 3 pounds, Romero's interim WBA title wasn't at stake. Well, that fight was not pretty to watch. I think we all could agree with that. Mostly attributed to Romero's unpleasant tactics, unnecessarily juking with the elbows, but he got the job done, looking for that knockout from the opening round. Very awkward style with who likes to throw very wide from stationary positions with his flat feet. Tommy, what was your take on the person as well, but also the fight? Your thoughts, Tommy, from that undercard fight?
So on this one, I'm a little behind. I got to see some bits and pieces of the fight. I was actually on the move, but from what I did see, I agree with exactly with what you're saying as far as, and just what I know of Rolly anyway from his previous fights. His tactics, his style is not to be desired all that much. And the dude will talk so much shit. It's crazy. Which is probably the main point of anything that we're going to talk about when we're talking Rolly right now.
He's embracing that villain role. I mean,
yeah, he is, man. I mean, he's one of them Floyd villains, and he's going to really live that thing, and he does it. He does that well. I can say that. So I mean, again, like you said, he got the job done. Not the prettiest, not the most enjoyable type of fight to watch, but yeah, I'm gonna be watching the rest of it. But I know I have caught and seen some of the post fight when it comes to the interviews and some of the things that I know we're going to talk about with some Twitter finger beef that has already surfaced.
Great stuff, Tommy. And Courtney, we talked about him backstage. Your thoughts on Roland Romero again and the fight itself?
Tommy, the fight is damn near almost not even worth fucking watching, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would.
Hey, that's why I didn't watch it last night.
Pretty much, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would just say it like this, man. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I don't know your grind day to day. I don't know your life like that, man. But I'm sure you got better shit to do, man. And that's the way I felt, man. It was one of those fights. It was one of those cool feature fights where you're just like, damn, man. Damn, they got 6 more rounds to go. Fuck, man. We gotta wait. We gotta wait that much longer to the main event. I'm mad. The only reason I think we're prompted to talk about this dude is his salacious ass call out of Tank Davis at 140 after the fight. Come on, man. If he fought like that against an Anthony Yiggett, who, let's be real, Anthony Yiggett, a lot of people who do know him from the WB, the World Boxing Super Series tournament that culminated in the fight between Prograis and Josh Taylor. He gets starched out by Ivan Baranchik early on in that tournament. But the real talk on the real deal on Yiggett is even when that roster got made to round out the World Boxing Super Series, I was just like, yo, really? They couldn't have found another 140 pounder,
Right.
and Yiggett, he's solid, man. But this is the real deal on Yiggett. Other than European level competition, he's not world class. So for Rolly to turn in that kind of performance against the guy of that skill set who was coming in on 3 weeks notice with a trainer he was barely even getting to know, and really didn't even try to make weight, like, you're not ready for Tank, man. And like, Tank is already in enough legal trouble without having to go to court for murking your ass. That's what's gonna happen, man. Can you just visualize this? Tank coming up the middle on this guy when he's trying to throw one of those looping punches, or he's not even trying to move. He's not even trying to cut away from Tank because he's that flat-footed. Like, it's gonna be a highlight reel devastating knockout for Tank if they ever get in with each other. And I think what's sadder beyond that is the fight actually has a strong possibility of happening because there's nobody else at 135 on PBS, right, really, if Tank wants to go back down and go that route. And how the kid is he's the interim WBA 135 champion, and with a belt that rightfully does not belong to him. This is boxing in 2021. This is the world we're living in, and these are the things that we have to accept. But yeah, Rolly Romero, Tank Davis, no.
But since you mentioned him, on a more positive note, we get to talk about Gervonta Davis because, we didn't get to. We were gone about 3 weeks since episode 68, and he had he debuted at super lightweight against then undefeated Mario Barrios for the regular WBA title. Obviously a big pound for pound like accomplishment for Javonta Davis, not only debuting but fighting for a title at unknown waters at 140. Tommy, your thoughts on this accomplishment for Javonta Davis?
Man, most definite shout out to him, man, and and that fight was wonderful, man. Barrios, he came to fucking play. But the height difference was one thing that was obviously seen right out the gate. In the pre-fight interviews and things like that. And, you saw that there was a very large difference there, even with the reach. But we all know that Tank is about that close quarters, and he will use kind of like that Tyson style to get right up under you, and where he can get those short hooks and short powerful uppercuts. And I mean the dude, there was a lot of talk about Floyd, kind of getting in the middle of the corner talk. I honestly feel like it helped. It helped him grab some focus. Now, whether people will say it was disrespectful to his trainer, which I could see that, but it helped dial him in. And when he got dialed in, we saw what the hell happened, man. He really regained his confidence in the ring and what was going on, and executing his game plan. And he was able to get him out of there. So, I mean, regardless of if people want to say, oh, well, which was said before the fight, many weeks before the fight, well, Tank is just going up because he doesn't want to fight so-and-so, and he's just going to go get this regular belt, shout out to him for that accomplishment, because he put himself in an area and at a seat at a table with some great some great boxers of few of eras of the past, and showed that he could get up there. And to be honest, we talked about when he moved to 135. We talked about before he started fighting 135. We wanted to see how well his power was going to translate. And here we are now looking at him,
At 140, yeah.
yeah, at 140. So I think that that type of discussion has to completely go out the window at this point. Like the dude he's making that shit happen, and he proved that he could stick it out with a taller opponent, much more reach. A good solid test in a champion. This was no layup for him, and Barrios won several rounds in that fight, and he was still able to to get his bearings together, and finish it out, with executing the type of game plan that he needed to. So it was a great fight, for me I enjoyed watching it.
Definitely. And also, before I go to Courtney, and the fact that, Tank Davis scored 2 knockdowns against Barrios in a division that was fresh for him, which speaks, relatively volumes for him. So, yeah, definitely. Courtney, your thoughts on that Showtime pay-per-view fight 3 weeks ago against Mario Barrios?
All right. So you two are also NBA fans, right? Aaron, I know you're an NBA fanatic. You know what I'm saying? But you ever see clips, or you see games where a player is having such a dominant performance, or he does something that's so impressive that the opposing team's bench starts cheering him on. They start getting hyped up because that, it was pretty much like that with Barrios, man. Barrios was like, he said it multiple times, I'm not a hater. Like,
Yeah.
Barrios, in that post-fight interview, he basically said everything up to the point was, I'm fucking impressed. Like, like you can tell he wasn't even that. Like, Barrios, it was crazy. He got knocked out or he got stopped, and it was like, he was like just thrilled to be, a part. He basically was thrilled to be on the other side of a generational talent that people got to see, and that he was, he was in a fight like that. He was on a stage like that with this dude because he knew that the fashion he lost that fight was not going to take away anything from his marketability or his ability.
Right.
His stock went up, it increased, but it was such an impressive performance by Tank, even though he had to overcome adversity, even though it was not easy. You know, it got tricky for him in spots. But the way he processed it, he adjusted, and he came through that. And then he finished it off against Barrios, a guy who has a very significant height advantage against him, by using his height against him. Like, you know, so he won that fight in a way where he turned it around on Barrios, and he used Barrios' height advantage as the disadvantage against him that basically resulted in him, you know, losing the fight because he got leverage on it. You know, he was in there and basically he basically weathered the jab. You know, he ate a few jabs coming in, and then he just came in and just started mugging on it. But yeah, great performance from a marketability standpoint from Tank Davis. He's definitely I hate to use the term pay-per-view fighter because I think we get too many fights on pay-per-view that shouldn't be on pay-per-view, that are just, you know, money grab opportunities. And initially I thought this was too, but basically Tank has certified himself as a value for money fighter. And a guy that, you know, when you look at the potential matchups for him in the future, they're fights you would pay for. You know what I'm saying? Would you pay to see Tank Davis against Robert Easter? You know, Robert Easter. I would. You know what I'm saying? Would you pay to see him against the Mikey Garcia? I would. Would you pay to see him against the Pro guy? Damn sure would. Would you pay to see him against the Josh Taylor? Fuck yeah. Would you pay to see him against AB?
Oh,
like,
man.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it basically he wrote his own check with that performance, and it's you know, it's what not only, you know, it's a welcome to a higher weight division, it's welcome to the big leagues. Welcome to the superstar you know, realm of boxing. And you know, for Tank, for all the he's been through as far as his legal troubles that he's still going through outside of the ring, you know, a lot, you know, his backstory and what he's had to endure. I think with that performance, he showed himself as a classy fighter too. Not, you know what I'm saying, in not just in, you know,
his demeanor
you know,
has
he gave
progressed.
Barrios his due.
Yeah.
It didn't get stupid in the pre-fight, and you know, he you know, the way he was a gracious winner. The performance was classy in that he had to come back from adversity. There was, you know, I think people made more of Floyd coming into the corner than should have, because I mean, hey, Floyd told him exactly what he needed to hear.
Yep.
I think Calvin Ford, Tank's trainer, recognized immediately that that's what he wanted to hear. You know, and when you're a trainer and you're training a boxer, I think Calvin Ford was focused in on the tech. You know, saying, okay, I got to tell this dude how I got to tell this dude how to win this fight. Floyd was going to come in and say, hey, show me you're great. I think Floyd is keyed in with Tank. It was just like, yo, you know what I'm saying? I'm your promoter. I've got you to the pay-per-view status. I've been, you know what I'm saying, I got you out of Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? I've invested all this money, you know what I'm saying, into you know, I've thrown all this publicity. You know, it's like, hey, you know, not necessarily pay me back for my investment, but show me you're great. You know what I'm saying? Show me that you're gonna be on that same trajectory that I was when I was fighting at this level. And Tank Davis wanted to do that. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to show and prove, and that's what he went out there and did. So I mean, as far as people making this and that of Floyd interjecting in the corner or whatever, no, because if you watch it, you know what I'm saying, Calvin Ford spoke his piece to Tank, stopped talking, and pointed his attention outside of Floyd.
Exactly.
It was like, you know what I'm saying, what was like first, it was like, hey, you're the scorecards. Tank was just like, oh man, and Floyd was like, hey, calm down. I'm telling you what you need to hear. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know what I'm saying, I'm always gonna keep it 100 with you. Show me that you're great. And that's, you know, that's what happened. So I mean, is Tank on his way to being great? I don't know. I mean, that's why we got to watch the fights. That's why he's got to fight the fights.
That's why we got to pay for the pay-per-views to watch fights. I mean,
in terms of the iconicism of boxing, and you know, and what we all want to pay, or are willing to pay to tune in and to see. I think those fights are in the horizon, and as far as the entertainment value of boxing, Tank is in that lane now.
Great
Yeah.
points. Great points.
Hey, and one other piece of that was, like what Courtney was mentioning, with Calvin Ford in the corner when he deferred to Floyd, and Floyd actually gave him some direction. There were a couple of those times that he came and he backed it. It wasn't like it was like some sort of beef about it. It didn't bother him at all. Like, he used that to his advantage because, just as Courtney mentioned, he was more on the technical side, and what Floyd brought to the table was a motivation of greatness. He triggered an intangible.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
was the word I was looking.
yeah, it was an intangible,
Yeah.
that he pulled out. And that's something that you can't really just explain, like from a training aspect. He knew, okay, like it's like when, like myself and a lot of others, we call, and a lot of us in the box, we call it having that dog in you.
Hmm.
He was able to you can't say, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to slip that. You can't do that and pull the dog out somebody. What he did and how he said it, being who he is, because Calvin Ford is not Floyd, and with Floyd standing there in the big stage and looking at him and telling him exactly like he said, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you always. That's what you want from me. So this is what I'm telling you. He pulled that dog out of him that he knew was in him, that he saw from one great fighter to another great fighter. And he triggered him in that way. And that's what we saw. We saw him trigger that intangible that sent him out there completely changed and motivated to go destroy.
I got one more thing on that too. Is I think the great when your fighter's trainer, I think the greatest thing you can do for them, or one of the best things you can do for them, is to recognize your own limitations. You know what I'm saying? We've seen Teofimo Lopez get to another level because his pops brought in another voice,
Right.
Joy Gamache.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he let somebody else come into that father-son dynamic and have a say in, you know what I'm saying, in the way things are going to go, or another set of eyes, or another angle. You know what I'm saying? That deferment to somebody else, that's made the difference. We see it on the other end, Danny Garcia, where Angel never, you know what I'm saying, Angel never had anybody. It was all him. Angel never fought professionally. Same as Calvin Ford has never fought professionally.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Street dudes who know boxing and have been in the gym their whole life or whatever, but you have a limited perspective on that when, you know what I'm saying, just from a training end and never having been through it and, you know what I'm saying, dealt with it. And, you know what I'm saying, on the other end of that, Angel Garcia, Danny Garcia, there was never another voice in that corner. And Danny's career got to a plateau. And it's unlikely we're going to see Danny Garcia back to championship form. Again, we could pretty much say with a degree of certainty that Danny Garcia is the best. You know, we've seen the best, and those days.
He's a high-end gatekeeper at this point.
So for Calvin Ford, you know, for him to when you give instruction to somebody, when you teach somebody something, the biggest affirmation you can have in that is for somebody to come behind you and say, yes, this person's right, or to repeat that, or to say the same thing. So Calvin Ford, I guarantee he's telling Tank that he is great in the gym every day as a means to push and motivate him. When Floyd is, you know what I'm saying, is coming behind that and saying, manifest that shit. Show, you know what I'm saying, show me you're great. You show Calvin you're great every day. You show the people, your sparring partners, you know, the people who are in your life, you know what I'm saying, they know, show me you're great. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm at a level, show me that you know what I'm saying, and that's what did it. So actually I give props to Calvin Ford. I think that was a genius move by him as a trainer. And I think Calvin Ford is the kind of person with his background coming from where he's coming from, is if he wanted, you know what I'm saying, if he didn't want anybody else to speak in that corner, he told him to shut the fuck up.
Right.
You know, So I mean, so that is what it is.
My last thought on that before we transition to our last segment. Floyd Mayweather being who he is, you can't just expect him to just be the prototypical promoter. I mean,
Of course.
as we all know, he's trying to turn Tank Davis into a business in itself. So as we in the past, they say it takes two to tango, it takes two to make a pay-per-view fight. Well, Floyd can't depend on that. So he's trying to put all the chips on. He's trying to push the narrative, and I think it's working so far. That Tank Davis is the pay-per-view attraction. He's the driving force. So no matter who's going to put in front of him, as Courtney said, people are going to pay for it. So great points on Gervonta Tank Davis. Our last segment is Courtney really wanted to speak on this, and I agree with him. Is the trilogy between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. It was postponed because last week Fury tested positive for COVID-19. His team did, specifically put in quotes with Tommy. Let me put up the updated screenshot so the people could see what the current topic is. Give me 1 second, fellas. Here we go. So as we know, it was scheduled for July 24th, but it has been postponed to October. I'm not sure anyone correct me, but October basically. As reported by BoxingScene.com, Bob Arum stated that Fury was not fully vaccinated at the time he got infected, only receiving shot 1 of 2 of the vaccine dosage. But let's, Tommy, let me go to you. You signaled in quotes.
Allegedly.
You think it's allegedly? Tommy, give us your take. Let's not hold back.
Allegedly. Hey,
let's talk about COVID Gate. Let's put it out there. Tommy, give us your thoughts on this, man.
So one, it's supposed to be rescheduled to I think it's October 9th.
October 9th.
But yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of shit that's floating around. Like one, it was supposed to be somebody in his camp. Then it was him. Then we see, allegedly that he's out there like shopping for cars. He's out taking pictures with people like right after supposedly, being diagnosed with COVID. There's been a number of different situations with Fury that we all know and are aware of where he has found ways to not find himself in a fight that he was supposed to be in. I don't know about this, man. I mean, we'll see, but allegedly, sprinkle that everywhere because I don't know, man. I just do not know how this is gonna work out because we know that there was, I don't remember what the date was that they were ordered to have this fight happen before. Courtney, you may remember exactly, or Aaron, you might remember.
It's September 30th or some shit like that.
Yeah, something like that. So like September, and this fight is scheduled for October 9th. So, allegedly.
Courtney, what are your thoughts, man, on COVID?
This whole heavyweight scene, as far as the belts are concerned, has just been bug booty wild, yo.
Right. Yep.
In terms of Fury and AJ about to get it on in Saudi Arabia, and then Wilder emerges out of the from
hits him with the arbitration
Supreme Court. It's like I know it wasn't the Supreme Court, but I mean he had a whole Brown versus the Board of Education decision that came down and said, no, you will not deprive me of my right to a trilogy. You know what I'm saying? The Thurgood Marshall hologram.
Oh,
Coachella looking.
You know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, God rest her soul, rising from the grave, saying,
oh man.
Johnny Cochran, you know, sending thunderbolts down from the abyss. You know, like it was like that was just a legal courtroom drama, man. Like we was watching a really hyped extended episode of SVU, man, Law and Order. You know, shout out to my man Ice-T, man.
In the first 48.
But man, it's been wild, man. But as far as this dynamic, before I say that though, I said it all along though. Fury and AJ, I don't see them coming back to each other, man. I don't see them coming back to find each other in each other's arms, man. Or in that damn ring, because
bro, AJ was sick after this.
Wilder is either going to get his get back, or Usyk is going to have something for AJ.
Oh, we're going to talk about Usyk very soon. But yeah, go ahead, Courtney. Go ahead,
Courtney. You know what I'm saying? The center will not hold in this shit, man. And you know what I'm saying? And like I like to insert the AJ Usyk because I'm saying that just as firmly as I said from jump, that I think Wilder is gonna knock, you know what I'm saying, Fury out in this trilogy, man. And that second part that gets roundly dismissed, everybody's gonna call me a stan, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Hey, fuck it. You can say whatever you want, man. You know what I'm saying? That's my prediction or whatever. But like, okay, let's go ahead and look at this AJ Usyk. If you look at the intangibles, man, there's some shit there. There's some shit there. If you look at the wild, salacious ass stories that are circulating out of both camps on Fury and Wilder, it's, you know what I'm saying, it's crazy. We have one matchup in AJ and Usyk where the intangibles is you don't know where it's going to go because of the skill set. You got Fury and Wilder, who are just fucking not the most mentally stable people on earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, man. But because of this cocktail of fuckery on one end, where it concerns Fury and Wilder, and what is expected to be one of a very interesting and unique clash of styles on the end of AJ and Usyk, I don't see the center holding, man. I don't see Fury and AJ coming back together for this dream UK matchup, which I said before I don't give a fuck about. You know, that everybody is fantasizing is going to happen. I think one or two of those parties that, you know, are going to need to happen to have that. Like I don't know. I don't think Fury and AJ are coming out unscathed. One of them is going to fall by the wayside.
You know what? As far as Anthony Joshua and Usyk is concerned, you know, I pulled up their head-to-head graphic, as you can see. You know what? I'm not very, you know, Alexander Usyk, you know, he's done great things. Obviously, coming from cruiser featherweight, doing his undisputed business there. But you know, to be honest with you, as far as him facing Joshua and shout out to Michael Cockrell, he kind of mentioned this too, and I agree with him. Anthony Joshua just has too many, you know, obvious physical advantages against even a skillful Alexander Usyk, for Usyk to pull off any upset that people could envision. Tommy, give us your thoughts on this matchup that's very likely to happen now that Joshua and Fury is way back in the rear view.
That's happening. That's happening. That's signed.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you for the correction. But yeah, Tommy, your thoughts on Joshua versus Usyk?
Man, I think that's gonna be a fucking good ass fight. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good ass fight. Styles make fights, and I seriously think that this is gonna be this is gonna be a fight to remember. To be honest, in the heavyweight division, in my opinion, you know, Usyk, he told him, he said, "I'm coming for you. I am coming for you." Like he's not playing, and he wants to get into this division and make some serious waves with these top opponents. Um, I think that he's going to come ready. I think that you know, power wise, I don't think he's going to have much for Anthony Joshua. I'll say that. His technique, I think that he's going to have a lot. And so I think that the two different types of styles is going to matter what type of Joshua we see in the ring. If he's really sticking on his game, uh, he could definitely back Usyk up with the power that he has, with the size that he has. But you know, I think I'm. This is gonna be one of those fights where I'm gonna sit back and enjoy that shit, man. Because and especially wherever Joshua's head is, because as I said, this whole thing that happened, with Courtney's wonderful narration of the depiction of how this went down. Fucking Joshua was hurt. Like he
Hey,
was
so hurt.
that dude was appalled. He was he was clutching his pearls. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was not happy about this. He seriously wanted that Fury fight. Um, and so I feel like he's gonna be coming into this fight looking to take out some of that frustration and anger on Usyk, with this opportunity. But Usyk might be able to neutralize him a little bit, man. And if he can, I don't see that this being a foregone conclusion. That Usyk is able to pull that off. Not at the least, man. So this is gonna be one that I sit back and fucking enjoy. Like I'm gonna really enjoy this one right here.
Sorry about that, guys. I was unmuted. But great thoughts,
There you go.
Tommy. Courtney, your thoughts on Joshua versus Usyk? I know you have an opposing view to mine. Let's see your take, man.
Uh, man, there's so many layers. I'm a key into something Tommy said though. He said that AJ is going to come in with a chip, or potentially coming in with a chip on his shoulder, and be angry about that Fury, or the fight with Fury not materializing and all that was behind that. Yeah, because those are good points. Especially AJ's reaction of just being sullied by that. If AJ needs to he needs to approach this fight with Usyk with a clear head. He needs to,
Yes.
if he does not put that away, he is going to be in for a long night, because Usyk is a person you are going to have to think against for 12 rounds. We saw what Andy Ruiz did to Joshua off the virtue of having quick hand speed.
Right.
He is going in against a 200-pound Lomachenko. Like, that's dangerous. That is a super dangerous proposition. Now, I mean, the Ruiz fight, that can be chopped up to, his lack of focus, him being caught up in the in the bright lights, first US fight, Madison Square Garden, tra-la. But Usyk is a person who is going to give him no quarter at all. And Usyk is coming in, basically believing. I mean, Usyk pressured for this fight. Usyk, what I'm saying? As soon as the tweets or the news clips started to surface about how the Fury Joshua matchup was crumbling, Usyk was already Usyk was on social media heavy saying next. I got next. Usyk was already saying, I'm not taking step aside money, all this and that. Like, Usyk has wanted this fight, and anytime an opponent is so keen on another opponent, the way Usyk has been on Joshua, it's because they see something, and I think Usyk sees a lot in Joshua that he can exploit. Yeah, I mean, we can look at the the physical advantages. We can look at the intangibles and how they stack up on paper. Um, but I think Usyk has got all the attributes to where he can make this a boxing match. He can, you know what I'm saying, he can move and he can creep on Joshua, and I think he can ask Joshua some very difficult questions for Joshua to be able to answer. Um, so I mean, I'm bullish. I'm bullish on it. I'm bullish on it. I'm saying it loud, proud, and publicly right now. I think Usyk is going to beat Joshua. Um, and I think I can't because of Anthony Joshua and his many advantages, and by virtue of what he is and he's accomplished, and the way he finishes guys, and the way he has finished guys, and the way he came back to get his belts back against Ruiz. I think people are fair to be to see it so heavily in favor of Anthony Joshua. So I don't have any criticisms on that. I'm not going to. I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna die on a hill in a debate over AJ and Usyk. I'm just gonna say like I see the upset brewing, and it's basically and you guys have known me for years, man. It's like when I called Algieri against Provodnikov. It's like when I called Kell Brook against Porter. You know what I'm saying? I see the same things that made me so firm on my predictions on those fights. That's what I see here with Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk.
Definitely. And it's your opposing points are very agreeable, and they're not they could very well come into fruition. On that note, shout out to Sean Fitzgerald from Just Boxing Podcast, Just Boxing Foundation. Welcome, sir, welcome back. Thank you for always supporting us. He has a good question. Of the big three, Wilder, Fury, Joshua, who do you think is the best matchup for Usyk stylistically? Let me go back to you, Corny. You want to take a jab at that question?
That's got to be Wilder. That's got to be Wilder, because Wilder is the least skilled of those guys, and so and Usyk being a supremely skilled fighter himself. That's if you look at the intangibles on Landon's paper and how they stack up, and all the things that Wilder does not do very well. That's the best matchup for him, hands down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's very easy for someone or people to get caught up in imagining, well, if Wilder catches him, but you're gonna get popped like 30 times before you get that chance to catch him. Like that's gonna be one
but
where
are those 30 shots gonna be mosquito bites, or are they gonna be enough to, what I'm saying? That's the intent.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's where that one is like
they're gonna be scoring mosquito bites.
Yes.
So if Wilder doesn't find that, the cards are not gonna be very friendly.
Yeah, but we all know that. I mean, Wilder's footwork, like you said, there's so many things that he doesn't do well that those mosquito bites, they'll amount up, and they'll frustrate, and they'll get him off of his game plan, where then he will just be swinging those wild, absurd haymakers and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I think Wilder hands down is the easiest matchup, stylistically, and best for Usyk.
Yeah, I agree as well. Wild, for the same reasons that Courtney and Tommy mentioned. Wilder seems the fan friendly, definitely fan friendly matchup for Usyk, stylistically speaking. So yeah, that's going to conclude it for episode 69 of the Standing A podcast. Shout out to everyone who's been on this session with us. Shout out to Manuel Dominguez. He's from En Vivo, right, Tommy?
Yes, sir. Hop, hop, hop.
Hey, we appreciate the love, y'all.
Appreciate the love, man.
Live boxing.
Sean Fitzgerald, thank you. Thank you for always supporting us. He's from Just Boxing Foundation, Just Boxing Podcast. Check out his movement. Shout out to Clarence McLean, who's been on with us. Hopefully I didn't miss any other guys.
Tommy Jackson in there in the chat. Drop something for us.
For sure. Shout out. But yeah, that's episode 69 of the Standing 8 podcast. Any last words, Courtney? Any last shout outs you want to give out?
Hey, you know I'm gonna do the Oscar speech, man. Hey, shouts to Michael Gomes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the First Lady of Boxing, Ohio Runs Boxing. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to alumnus Daniel Pena. Shout out to Chris Ramos. Shout out to Nick Angarame out there. Shout out to Julio Z. Shout out to Anthony Stack Saldana. Shout out to Hector Franco. Shout out to Joseph Correa. Shout out to Gary Kilson. And basically everybody who has messed with us and joined the movement and been a part of the movement all these years and all these episodes and all these shows. We are committed to keep coming at you with the real, for real. And tune in, invite a friend, and tell them to invite a friend. And let's just keep this thing going.
Great words, awesome words as usual, Courtney. And also Tommy Rush Jr. But let me first plug in BSHQ Barbecue Catering Delivery, locally serving Dallas, Texas, and surrounding areas. You could hit up an order by contacting him at 801-360-2214. They're also on Instagram at BSHQ Info's on the bottom left of the screen. Just in case you're hearing us on the audio, let me reiterate that. To place an order, if you're in the Dallas or Fort Worth areas, contact them, 801-360-2214. Instagram is BSHQ. Tommy, any last words, shout-outs you want to give out before we end it?
Hey, man, as always, I love the speech by Courtney at the end, and you know what I'm saying, getting on that podium.
Hey,
yeah.
we see.
Antoine.
Antoine Wells.
Antoine wants some attention. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shout out to him. Shout out to him. Happy birthday to his boy. Saw that just recently as well. We
Sanchez.
Yes, sir.
Legacy.
Jason Gillespie, everybody, you know what I'm saying? All of y'all that's been down with us from the beginning, always supporting, liking, sharing, following, listening, commenting. We appreciate all of y'all.
Sean Cameron, BK.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes,
shout out to our very special guest from episode 68, Sean Killer Cameron. Hope all is well. But yeah, that's episode 69 of the Standing 8 podcast. I'm Aaron Sorial, joined by Courtney Tanner, Tommy Rush Jr. Shout out to Michael Gomes, who will be on very soon. But shout out to him. Happy belated birthday again to Daniel Pena. He was one of the original members, but shout out to him. Happy birthday to Roy Bennett. I believe it was his recent birthday, but shout out to him.
Roy had one.
Yep. A lot of birthdays.
Manny G.
You old wanker, you.
Yeah, Manny G had a birthday as well.
Oh, Shout out. Manuel Guevara. Yeah. Yep.
Big time.
That's it, guys. Episode 69 in the books. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Be sure to follow us further at www.thestanding8podcast.com. You could catch this replay on YouTube. You could hear us on all major listening platforms such as Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that has a podcast platform, you could find us. I'm Aaron Sorial. Again, Tommy Rose Jr., Courtney Tanner. We all say, be safe out there. Protect yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Peace.
Yes, sir.